First off, I just want to say Happy Independence Day. It is so great that we're able to not only celebrate our 250th anniversary amongst ourselves, but also to be able to share a little bit of that culture with everyone that's been traveling for the World Cup. I thought I've just been so happy to see the positive coverage that America has been getting recently from everyone that's been visiting. And that's all kind of got me thinking about how great we have it as Americans and how blessed we are to live in the greatest country of the world. I want to actually be able to explain why I actually believe that America is the greatest country in the world. And I think there's no better way to start than talking about what makes America America, and more specifically, what makes an American an American. When we think about who is an American, we don't necessarily think about some sort of bloodline or racial identity like we might with some other places. Ronald Reagan even said it himself, where he mentioned that you can go to France and live there, but you cannot become a Frenchman. However, anybody from any corner of the world can come to America and become an American. And you might be wondering, how is that possible? Well, it is because our identity is rooted in our core principles. What are those principles? Well, I think probably the best place to start is our Declaration of Independence. I just have it right here, and I'll just kind of read the top part. And you've probably have heard this many times, but it is worth saying. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. That is incredibly revolutionary, especially for the time. The idea that our rights pre-exist the government and the government is there simply to protect it is incredibly important to our identity. And of course, it mentions that those rights, those ideals that it is protecting, is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And a lot of those can be encapsulated in our religious freedom, our freedom of speech. For example, we talk about religious freedom and how much we can take that for granted, especially as a Christian. That's not usually in the forefront of my mind, that I am able to just go to church and not have to worry about public persecution or the government coming in with a SWAT team and arresting me. When other places, unfortunately, a lot of people cannot say the same thing. Whether you look at China or even some Western countries like the UK, where there have been instances of street preachers or public prayers which have been disbanded and people have been arrested because of it by the UK government. And that is partially because the government, for them, is not rooted in the principle that it serves the people, but rather it's the other way around. And as something that is very, like I said, taken for granted, especially from me, or kind of going right off of religious freedom and going into free speech. I mean, the United States has an unusually strong protection of freedom of speech. We are allowed to say anything we want, for better or for worse, whether it is online or through public protest. It is amazing that we are able to have discussions and beliefs that might contradict the common rule. It is not the government's job to enforce it, it is to protect it. And even if you think about, again, going back to the example of the UK, which is a Western country, they have really cracked down on speech by calling anything that this like hateful or offensive. And I think that is something that is so easy to forget just how lucky we are to live in a country where that freedom is protected. And of course, I can't talk about America's greatness without talking about economic freedom and the innovation that comes with it. Because we rely on capitalism and free enterprise, people are given much more freedom to be able to build, to create, to invest, to take risks, to be able to become successful instead of locking people into a certain outcome because they were born in some wealth or because of their background. In America, if they have a good idea, a strong work ethic, and a willingness to take risks, they can build something meaningful. They, as I said before, can become successful. And of course, this all feeds right back into the economy and helps make it grow. Even looking at it from the GDP, America is larger than the entire European Union combined, which is amazing. And that helps incentivize people who are able to accumulate more wealth to be able to take more risk. And those risks, if taken, can lead to amazing innovations like the smartphone, the internet, personal computers, GPS. That wouldn't have happened without the economic freedoms that we have today. And that is just something that is so amazing. And not even just kind of thinking about America now, but even in the last 50 years, we live in a society that is wealthier than it has ever been. Of course, we still have issues. Of course, buying a house is more expensive. And with the Iran war, gas has been a lot more pricey. But even with those things, we are better off, much more better off than our grandparents were at our age. And that's something that is too quickly overlooked. And while it's important to address the issues that we have, we should also be considering what we have already and count it as a blessing. I've said all that. What about America's impact for the world? America has repeatedly sent its own citizens to die to protect the freedoms of other countries. Look at World War I, World War II, or the Korean War as some major examples. It shows that America is a uniquely good country despite what other people may claim. I mean, even just look at the Marshall Plan, for example, to help Europe rebuild after World War II. I mean, that is, we even helped rebuild our own enemies, like Japan, for example. That just shows the greatness that America has and the unique good that comes from America. The America greatness is something that benefits not only Americans, but the entire world. We make, as Americans, about 4.5% of the world's population. So this isn't something that the majority of the world is included in. And I hope that it's a good reminder, not only for you, but also for myself as well, about just how lucky and how blessed we truly are to be able to live in this great country. And it's not to say that we shouldn't pursue progress, that we shouldn't pursue innovation, but when we are doing these things, let's not forget the good that we already have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a blessed day, and God bless America.